Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 12th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday. Big Brother 27 live feeds. It was day 35 in the house, and we had a veto ceremony with some interesting choices and some alliances exposed and plenty of plans for next week, along with some discussions on the vote this week. And with me to talk about it all is Chantele. How you doing, Chantele?
I'm actually really sad. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, after the veto ceremony, I'm gonna be doing the update, and like there's gonna be so much stuff that's gonna happen in terms of like it getting used, and then what's Morgan gonna do? And then I got none of it. None of it. I was so disappointed. But we will get into all of it, or none of it, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Yeah. All right. Well, of course, as you know, Ava is the HOH. She nominated Keanu, Vince, and Zach for eviction. Catherine won the veto, has decided not to use it. I can confirm in the veto ceremony she did not use the veto, but Zach still has his 10K power, which can remove himself from the block. And the question has been, will he use it? He's certainly been told that things are not looking amazing for him if he stays on the block. So the question remained, will he use it? He's not acting like he's going to use it, but surely he will, right? Surely he will.
Surely he will. And like what's so wild about it too is I'm just curious, maybe he doesn't know how like it's supposed to be used. Like I'm actually just questioning that he doesn't even realize that he could use it as a bribe and he can get like I feel like he must not fully understand how to use it because it's insane. You know?
We got confirmation that he knows later in the day. Because there were a lot of people. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. All right. So in the morning, now this is even more important now, but basically Mickey has been back and forth about this vote, about whether to keep Keanu or not. And so she was initially thinking, I want, one of Zach or Vince gone. She initially wanted Vince gone, was kind of convinced by Morgan to keep Vince over Zach. Then she was convinced again by Morgan to keep Zach over even Keanu, that Keanu was the one she wanted out entirely. And I say convinced by Morgan, but that was mostly information relayed by Morgan. It was mostly that she was convinced by Keanu himself, because Keanu had been running around saying that that Mickey had been testing him, temperature checking him about some information he told Rylie, and that got back to Mickey. And so she became anti-Keanu and tried to pitch that to Ava and Will and them, to not a whole lot of success. But that's where she was basically by the end of the night. In fact, she had a conversation with Rachel where she started to bring it up again. And Rachel said that, hey, we should talk about this tomorrow, indicating that there were other people in the room. That's important later. So in the morning here, Mickey talks again to Will this time about potentially evicting Keanu and keeping both Zach and Vinny, saying, I think Ava even might want this. I don't know. Even though that's definitely not what Ava wants. Will kind of finally manages to talk her down. Some time has passed. She's not quite as dead set about the Keanu thing as she has been before. And so, or that she was like when she first found out that he was saying those things. And so she sort of reluctantly agrees, well, maybe we don't need to be so hard on Keanu. He's still annoying me though, but I don't know. I'm undecided at this point. So she's back to maybe neutral on the matter.
which is good. But I'm just wondering if something happened when Mickey got the taste of head of household, because I feel like her rationales for everything have just become so skewed, and like the way that she's looking at this game and her lens is just completely shifted. And I'm just always thinking like, what's wrong with Mickey? Like, what happened to Mickey? Like, I was so for her a couple of weeks ago, and I was like rooting for her, and then now like kind of like her takes and who she wants to target, all of it, I'm like, I'm just not into it. It's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the meantime, Zach is having more conversations, specifically again with Ashley, with Morgan. He's basically continuing to be told things are not great if you stay on the block. They're not great. But will that matter? We'll see. He does have this long conversation with Ashley and Morgan where they are trying to clear the air. Remember, long conversation yesterday. If you watched the update, there was a long conversation with Morgan where she talked to him about, you talked to her a lot, Zach. And she was referring to Ashley, saying that Ashley was telling her and other people that Zach would choose Lauren over Morgan. And so they kind of hashed that out a little bit between the three of them. And, look, it's a big misunderstanding like everything else, and so on and so forth. And maybe we should really work together. Maybe we should work together, the three of us. We should make something work because it's silly for us to be at each other's throats.
Which it is. I'm like, okay, like maybe we're making some progress here, but I just don't have any faith with this cast anymore. I want them to be able to see the light and like see the way that we want to see them play this game, and it's just not happening. It's kind of like the first time I've really felt like this in a season, where I'm just like, I'm not understanding how their gameplay is coming about. Do you have insight, Taran? I mean, you probably do, but like, what's happening here?
They're all terrible.
Okay, is that it? Is that just what it is? Like, I can't get behind them all being so terrible that I'm like, ah, yeah,
yeah.
Are you okay? I know you love good gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're all terrible, and they need help, is what they need. Because we get to the veto ceremony, and the feeds are down for a long time for the veto ceremony, and I assume that part of this was because they were doing some punishments. I'm sure Keanu had to make some pigs in a blanket halfway through. But there, in my mind, I was like, surely this is also extra long because Zach is using his power, right? Like, it's extra long. It takes a bit more time. There's got to be a renom, and there's all that stuff happening there. And maybe Morgan is crashing out about this whole situation. Like, there's plenty happening. So when the feeds come back from the veto ceremony, he didn't use it. He's still on the block. Zach, Vince, and Keanu remain on the block. Zach did not use his power.
Shocking. Like, it was just like, you have been given a gift. Like, $10,000 is not as much money as winning the whole game is, and he could go home. Like, he's seen people go home. He's even switched his vote last minute, and somebody that he originally wanted to stay went home. I just don't understand why he's so calm with staying on the block with such a volatile house that doesn't really stick to the plan or whatever. Yeah, like, at this point, I want him to go home because he needs to see how bad this decision was.
Yeah, I just I'm going to read a small passage from the book I wrote, Behind the Mirror. Marcellus Reynolds, the first person to have the veto used on him, the first holder of the golden power of veto, the first person to ever not use the veto on himself. Another Big Brother gravestone echoing through the halls of legend, screaming out its lesson: always save yourself with the veto.
Always. Do we have Jen, who's Jen is in that passage as well?
He didn't make it. it's pretty simple, you know. You just do it. You just do it. So Zach did not save himself. He is the de facto current person that will be voted out if he does not win the blockbuster. That is the case with or without Mickey. That is the case for Zach at the moment. It is incredibly wild that he didn't use this. I mentioned this on the recap on the roundtable last night because some people have said, well, listen. Come on, it's $10,000. This is a financial decision. And I talked about this. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because you make, I think, around at least that much just by making jury. Mm-hmm. So it is at best net neutral for him if he manages to survive at least one more week, potentially. Maybe it's a couple more weeks. But, you know, it's pretty much the same amount of money, not to mention the fact that you, especially given the career he wants to have, will make a lot more money by lasting longer on the show and having more exposure and, you know, doing lots of power things. This is not a financial decision. It's not, and even if it was, it would be a very, very poor one.
But now, okay, hear me out. What if he's doing it because he wants to have, like, be part of, like, the Bad Move Hall of Fame, and then maybe get written into your next book that you write about, like, you know, the second half, or, like, you know, the 20s plus of Big Brother or something like that.
Sorry, you don't cut it. Marcellus already took the role 23 years ago.
But they also have not watch the show. Like, they just don't know what's going on. And I don't think he cares as much as, like, if somebody really wanted to be there, they really cared about winning this game, they really wanted to play, they would do anything that they could to save themselves. And he doesn't have that fire in that way. I guess maybe he's banking on the fact that he's just going to win the blockbuster because, like, that's just what he does, I guess. But, like, there's no guarantees, absolutely. And I don't know, all of us want him to go home now. And so he has, like, a lot of, like, negative energy going towards him, like, being successful here. So, yeah, not good.
Yeah. So he does. And now, again, another thing that people were mentioning when this happened was, no, you guys don't understand. He can use the power whenever he wants. He can use the power whenever he wants. It said after the veto ceremony, which it didn't. It's at the end of the veto ceremony. But then also, like, you know, there was this, well, but maybe still, right? Like, remember Kelly's power. It was used after the veto ceremony. And like, okay, there's some validity to that. But we did get confirmed later by Zach because he told Morgan about his power and said, I have power. If I give up my $10,000, I can remove myself from the block. I chose not to use it, Morgan, because I knew that you would be the replacement nominee.
When he was saying this, I was like, she's just eating it up. She's like, oh, sorry, what did you say? Like, she's getting closer so he could, like, whisper that into her ear another time. Like, I think this is, like, after the fact he's come up with, like, okay, I'll say this, because there's no way that this was his plan all along, that he's saving Morgan. I think he's just trying to save a vote from her and be like, guilt her into keeping him.
Listen, it's a better explanation than any of the other ones I've got.
Fair. I still don't think it's true, though. True.
So that is what he is saying. He has decided definitively to not use his power, and that he did it to protect Morgan from going up on the block. I guess he'd rather be evicted than her.
Guess so. It's so annoying, Taran. I want people to be self-interested. I want people to play for themselves and want to win.
What are you going to do? So, listen, I already yelled about this on the roundtable if you want to listen to that. Mickey, in the meantime, is going to confront Keanu about his temperature checking comments. And this is a very silly conversation because it is a bunch of like why would you be going around talking about what I said behind my back without consulting me first? And Keanu was like, because we had the conversation and I felt like you were lying to me. And then you basically admitted you were lying to me. Again, the conversation they had, and they barely referenced the actual information also because it's not important. But basically, Keanu felt that Mickey was asking him about information he told to Rylie. He denied that it existed. And then she, in his mind, was like, oh, okay, like admitting like she was pretending to know it to see if he would confirm it. But then when he didn't confirm it, admitted that it wasn't true and that she didn't know it. When from her perspective, in reality, she was like, oh, so you're going to deny that this exists. Okay, that's fine. Now I know that you're denying it exists. And then from his perspective, it's like, oh, she's admitting that she doesn't actually know it. And so on and so forth. And so he is saying like, yeah, why would I mean, you basically admitted that you were temperature checking me, and I didn't even know what that meant until just now. And she's like, well, but you shouldn't be talking about, why would you then, instead of talking to me about it, talk to other people about it? And he was like, because I had the conversation with you. And she's like, but still, you shouldn't be talking about me to other people. And he says, well, I heard that you were talking about me to other people about this situation. She's like, yeah, because you were talking about me to other people about this situation. And back and forth.
I was so frustrated listening to this because I'm like, who cares? What does it matter? Like so he's talking about a situation that you guys had a conversation. He's allowed to talk to anybody he wants about a conversation that he's had with somebody in the game.
No, he's not. Mickey is in charge of everyone's conversations and what they cook and when, and also when they decide to talk.
Right? And like if they're allowed to talk to her, because like, we just like, even like with Jimmy had no idea that she was in hot water with Mickey or whatever. Like no conversations were had. There was no like, oh, let me go and address the issues that I have with you before talking to everybody else about it. So she doesn't even come close to practicing what she preaches with how she wants to demand this kind of like respect with everybody in the house. It was really, really frustrating to watch. I was pretty impressed by Keanu being able to handle it. Because like I would have been like, Kate, like you're off your rocker. I'm not really having any more conversations with you. Like we're done. We're good.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of get to the bottom of this, mostly just through the argument. But the big part here is that as they continue talking, Mickey also brings up this idea that she is being pegged as somebody influencing Ava's HOA train. And he basically was like, are you not? But also says, well, yeah, Morgan was talking about it, how you and Will were the only people Ava talked to prior to the nominations, and that, Ava had promised Zach safety, then had a conversation with you, then put Zach on the block. And Mickey is like, how dare she? I knew it. And basically after this argument / conversation, Mickey has fully come back to the side of, I'm keeping Keanu over Zach. I'm evicting Keanu I'm keeping Keanu in any circumstance. And evicting Vinny or Zach, still evicting Zach over Vinny, but she has fully come back. She's back on the Keanu train, and she is now anti-Morgan throughout the rest of the day, campaigning to keep Keanu and complaining about Morgan, saying that, what is Morgan doing? She's talking about me too much. She's trying to hang out with my friends. She's trying to replace me. She's trying to play the middle, but not in the good way, in the bad way, because she's trying to take my people. I don't like Morgan. She has to go.
Okay, I need to understand the psychology of Mickey, because is it because she wants what Morgan has or doesn't have, and she wants to be like the only girl with the guys, or is it like, because it just seems as though she just starts targeting her friends and allies. Is it just to assume like their position in the game? It's very strange.
I think that Mickey plays the game where like any perceived slight against her turns her Sauron's eye to that person, and then she spends her existence in the game trying to remove that person from the game. And so the problem is that she perceives a lot of things to be slights against her, even things that aren't slights against her. Like, you had a conversation with somebody that I didn't approve of. But because she turns the entire attention that she has onto the person every time she gets that poke, she's constantly targeting her own allies because her enemies don't really interact with her all that much. The reason Rylie and Catherine are two of her favorite people in the game is because they don't talk game. They don't love Mickey, but they also just barely talk at all. And so they don't irritate her as much, and therefore she very rarely needs to turn that eye onto them. And so it's just we just keep going around in circles, and she continues to target her allies because they're the ones interacting with her the most and talking about her the most.
Actually, it's a very fascinating insight, and I'm going to be watching for this now. I mean, it's being like, oh, like as soon as somebody has something to say that she doesn't like or does something that she doesn't like, she automatically hates them. Okay, or like wants them out. Okay,
Yeah.
This is interesting.
So elsewhere in the house, and I will remind you as well that Mickey is important for the vote this week in a few different ways. But particularly the close vote right now is Keanu versus Vince. If Zach is on the block against anyone, he's gone, period. That's it right now. And that's because Rylie, Catherine, and Kelley are all firmly on the same page that they want Zach gone in any scenario. Them, along with Rachel and Will and Ashley are 6 votes, and that's more than enough. Even if they don't have Rachel for some reason, not that Rachel would vote out Zach over Keanu, but if it was Zach versus Vinny, then additionally they would have Lauren and a few other people potentially. So Zach is just gone if he loses the blockbuster as of right now, if he can't win at least one of Catherine, Kelley, Rylie over, which is already a pretty tall task. But in the event that it is Keanu versus Vince, Mickey becomes much more important because Rylie and Catherine are a lot more wiggly wobbly when it comes to that vote. They have promised Vince that they will vote to keep him. However, there's a conversation between Kelley and Rylie where Kelley asked Rylie what he's doing with the vote because he wants to vote with him. She will do what he does. And she says, I will tell you what I am thinking, which is that I would vote for Zach over Vince, like vote for Zach to leave over Vince, but I would vote for Vince to leave over Keanu. And he says, yeah, I agree with that. Which is not what he told Vince, but also I think he's probably being more honest with Vince than he is with Kelley. But it implies a couple of things. One, Rylie still doesn't really care that much. Two, Kelley is willing to vote with Rylie if he does decide to push her to vote for Vince to stay over Keanu, which is important. And so this is where it all comes down to. This is what it all comes down to. This is a vote where there are 4 people in the middle of that vote. There are 3 locked in theoretically votes on either side for Keanu and for Vince, and there are 4 people in the middle. You need 2 of them to evict Vince because Ava would likely break the tie to evict Vince. You need 3 of them to evict Keanu. If you do have Catherine and Rylie locked in as Vince votes, that means you just need 1 of Kelley or Mickey to make sure that Keanu leaves. But if you don't have either one, Vinny likely leaves. So we will continue to look at these 4 people for this particular vote as the week continues. But it was an interesting conversation between Kelley and Rylie there.
Definitely. And now, so I can't really tell anymore though what's the best decision for the most amount of people, like, or the people in the four people in the middle. Like I don't know what's the best because they keep on targeting their allies and putting up people that they're working with and their number. Like I just don't know what's actually strategically good. I guess maybe we're looking for what's the best TV outcome.
Yeah, I was saying that I felt like Mickey's choice to get rid of Keanu actually does make sense, considering that Keanu has been pretty anti-Mickey, is one of actually the biggest anti-Mickey people on the board. But the problem is that the week has continued to deteriorate Mickey's position within the Vince Zach side of things as well. And Vince and Zach are now kind of pretty anti-Mickey themselves. And at this point, if Mickey were to vote with them to save Vince over Keanu, pissing off the rest of her allies, Will, Ashley, Ava, in order to continue to just fully implant herself into the very bottom of the hierarchy with Zach, Morgan, Vince, Lauren, that's not great either. And for as much as Keanu is anti-Mickey, at least he tends to like flip around every once in a while. So at this point, I actually do think it's probably best for Mickey to side with Keanu and leave the remainder of, Zach, Lauren, and Morgan to deal with all of the people that just did that, including Rachel and all of that, right? Because they don't want to work with Kat and Rylie either, that side. So I do think that's the play at this point, mostly because there's no real good play left for Mickey. She's just really dug herself a hole. But yes, that is the current state of the vote, and it is continuing to be interesting there for if Zach does win this blockbuster. So Morgan has been getting some bad vibes from Mickey throughout the day. She talks about how she doesn't trust Mickey. Mickey has been very anti-Morgan all day. She's been not very shy about it in interactions with Morgan. And so Morgan has a conversation with Vince about this. Vince agrees he does not trust Mickey. They do think that Mickey had something to do with these nominations. And so this rift is continuing to deepen and divide this group. They do, though, agree, Morgan and Vince, that Rachel is their next target. Rachel on the block next to Ava is almost a definite at this point, with, from Morgan's perspective, maybe Will on the block, maybe Kelley. She feels like she can't nominate Ashley now because she had this conversation in the morning about working together.
I really wish that Morgan, like the weeks before Mickey got her power, like I was loving like how the structure was coming along, and I want Rachel and Ava to do well, because like I feel like they're trying to play the game and they're trying to gather allies and they're trying to like work a little bit towards like being successful in the season, and Morgan is just another person that just does not seem to want to win in the way that I want them to win. I don't want them to target Rachel and Ava. I don't want that to happen. I don't want them to target Ashley. I don't want them to target Will. Like, why are they targeting all the people that I like? I don't understand. Is that their MO? It's like, let's just make the audience furious. Let's make Chantele like be so angry with my decisions. I want them to stay.
This one's kind of Rachel's fault, because Morgan was targeting Catherine and Rylie, but then Rachel blew up on her about the jury thing.
Well, okay, that was really, really dumb of Rachel. And I don't understand what Rachel is doing there at all, because it's like the one of the key things in Big Brother, I think, is like if you have information, you kind of have to like hold it. Like, okay, if they want to just take me to jury, fine. You just gotta hold that in, even if it makes you so mad, it's embarrassing. They're not respecting your legendary status. Like, you just gotta hold it in. Like, it's all the waiting game in Big Brother. And I'm just very shocked that she was so easily riled up to blow up on somebody that she needs to kind of have on her side, because she kind of has a bit of influence.
Mm-hmm. So Zach talks to Mickey. Now, again, if you recall in his long conversation with Morgan, she was asking Zach if he'd be willing to tell Mickey that Rachel threw Mickey under the bus. Because if in her mind, and she didn't say it like this. She said it like, there's something that I think you can do that could save your life. You can't tell anybody. I mean, this could be like life ending. But oh my God, I think because I was in the storage room and I won't do it again. But
Please.
the message of what she was saying was, if you position yourself as anti-Rachel to Mickey and throw Rachel under the bus to Mickey, saying that Rachel told you that Mickey is campaigning for you to go, then Mickey will be more likely to want to keep you, and that will be good for you, Zach. He is reluctant to share that information, and Morgan said, I will not do it. I will let you do it if you decide you want to do it. So Zach has a conversation with Mickey where he asks her how she thinks the vote is going to go this week between him and Vinny. And she says, not great, I think, to be honest. And, you know, this is the thing. For as much as he could potentially rat Rachel out here and, you know, go that route, if he knows that Mickey is already thinking she wants to keep Vinny over him, is that worth it, considering that he has credible information that Mickey's part of the reason he went up on the block in the first place and potentially has been campaigning against him for weeks? And so he decides not to reveal the information on Rachel. He does cry first upon hearing that that he might leave over Vince. Not really. It was mostly just like, oh, it's just so hard here. And she comforts him. He then also asks her, he says, you know, before Adrian left, he told me that you talked to him about the 10K and that you were trying to put a target on me because of it. Now, this is true. He heard this from Adrian. It's part of what corroborates what Rachel told him during their punishment, but he's not telling her about the Rachel part of it, that Rachel also told him this. So he's just bringing up the Adrian 10K stuff. She basically denies it. She says, I had that conversation with Adrian, but Adrian's the one that brought it up, not me. I just responded to it. This should be incredibly unbelievable for Zach, considering that he also heard it from Rachel, that it came from Mickey. And he basically says as much when he retells this conversation. He thinks that she's probably blaming Adrian because he's not there to defend himself. So this doesn't go super well for Mickey.
As not much does. Do we know what the truth is there though? Like did we? I don't remember seeing any like.
Oh, Mickey for sure brought this up to Adrian. She was the one spreading this around, and Adrian gave Zach a genuine heads up about it, which is one of the things that we were talking about, like Mickey making mistakes for some reason, trusting Adrian with that information for no particular reason.
Right. Well, we're learning that Mickey is not great at this game and is really great at digging a hole for herself. And so I don't really see her getting out of this. And I wish that, you know, her bad head of household reign was followed up by, you know, her being on the block or whatnot, but it's coming. I feel as though her house of cards is definitely going to crumble soon. Mm-hmm. Will she make jury? That's the question.
So then we have a very interesting conversation between Rachel, Kelley, and Keanu out in the backyard. Rachel is talking about the votes. Kelley is saying that she wants Zach out and she would vote for Keanu to stay over Vinny. Now, of course, Keanu's in that conversation, so of course she's going to say that. But Rachel decides to drop some info here. She says, you know, do you think like maybe part of the reason you guys have been struggling so much is because there's like a majority alliance in the house and you guys aren't in it? They're like, nah. She's like, well, there is, you know, a majority alliance. They're called the heavy hitters. It's basically, you know, Zach, Vince, Morgan, Mickey, you know, she names like, I think she actually like, I should have double checked. I think she like threw in Adrian or something because she's trying to replace herself in it and stuff like that. And so she names, you know, like there's like she names the people in the heavy hitters, and Kelley's like, that's like 6 people. That's not a majority alliance. Passage from my book, Behind the Mirror. Same chapter, by the way. It's the strategy chapter. An alliance of 6 can still be considered a majority alliance, despite it being a larger cast, when the other players in the cast do not have a proper counter alliance of their own. This is usually how things go, as it's much easier to gather 6 people of your choosing into a solid alliance when you have a whole cast to choose from. When those 6 are now already committed and you're outside of it, you're stuck with a ragtag group of people who may or may not even get along, let alone be willing to come together as a team to counter an existing group.
Knowledge, facts. It's 6 people like working together obviously is going to have some strength, and some people that are like not within the 6 could easily still vote with them and just giving them even a larger majority, or like an actual majority. And so it's clear that Kelley has not read your book. Maybe you should gift this entire season, like the whole cast, a copy of your book and be like, you know what?
That would be the shadiest thing ever.
Or maybe somebody in the audience will do that for us and be like, you all get a copy of this book.
I mean, the thing is, to be clear, this is not like a teach people strategy book. It's literally in order to properly explain the basics of the show, I need to explain some of these things so that you can understand the fundamental components of how it works. And of course, these are the things that the players in the house are missing. Yes, it is in fact can be considered a majority alliance, and so Rachel continues to talk about the heavy hitters to Kelley and Keanu. They do sort of say like, oh wow, well, you know, should we be working together? Can we work together? This would be such a good a group for us. Nobody would see us coming because, Kelley's like, nobody would think that we would work together, Rachel. And Rachel's like, I agree. I think we should do this. And ultimately, this does feel right. Right? It does feel natural. Kelley and Keanu were 2 people that Rachel was trying to work with. And, Rachel being in a majority alliance, I guess it's how she kind of won Big Brother 13, but it was sort of like gifted to her. But like Rachel belongs with the outsiders. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I quite frankly mean that in a good way. But like, this is where Rachel should be, with the people who are not the cool kids, who are not in the majority. The problem is Keanu still believes he is a cool kid. But before we get there, Kelley does say to Rachel, I thought this was very funny. Rachel, I'm really sorry about being mean to you in the first couple weeks. Rachel's like, I thought you were being nice to me. She's like,
yeah. Kelley. But you know what, though? That's a good sign that she's like apologizing for the bad things she's might have said or the bad thoughts she might have had about her. And so this could actually mean that they may actually work together. I think it's a good sign.
It's definitely there's something here now. Kelley does tell Lauren later in the day that if she were to win HOH, she would backdoor Rachel. So we'll see. But that's, listen, Kelley, she's an instigator. So who knows?
Yeah, she could be just using that just to get information from people, or like just to make them start, things happen.
She did tell Keanu earlier in the day that she would also put Rachel up, but that was before this conversation. So, again, there's plenty to dig into there, but it's not really worth trying to figure out, Kelley, I think, entirely. They do talk a bit about Rylie and Catherine and how, Keanu kind of lets it slip that Rylie sometimes feels weird about Rachel like meddling in their showmance, and Rachel gets really upset about this. Like, he doesn't even know what a showmance is. I had the first Big Brother baby. And Keanu's like, oh, no, it's fine. And both Keanu and Kelley say they trust Rylie a lot and think that they should be able to work with Rylie. And so Rachel then has to like later be like, I hope you guys don't think I'm like meddling with your showmance. It's a whole big thing, but it's honestly not that important, I don't think. But the bottom line is she tells them about the heavy hitters and they agree to work with each other. But Keanu, as I said, does still think that he is a cool kid. He thinks that his majority alliance is the Unexpendables, and so he runs this right to Vince. Hey, Vince, Rachel just told us about an alliance called the Heavy Hitters that you're supposed to be in with Zach. Is this true? And Vince is like, I mean, not really. I mean, it was like a Jimmy thing, you know, and wasn't really a thing. And Keanu's like, is this why you voted out Adrian with Zach though? And he's like, well, clearly not. Like, obviously it's not an alliance that held. I mean, Jimmy's gone, Adrian's gone. So, this clearly not that important.
All in that egg costume. I had to say that that's one of the better punishment costumes, and it's on the perfect person, because like it just suits him so much to be having all these conversations looking so silly. In terms of though, like I'm wondering if Keanu is getting it, because he seems to want to have his own reality of like in the picture painted in the way that he wants to see it. And so do you think he's actually seeing that, like, yes, this is true, Rachel's telling you the truth here, and like they were double dipping? Do you think
I think he did believe it. I think he just wants to run it to Vince.
Oh, his
problem
friend.
is
Right.
The problem is that he's on the block against Vince. What are you doing? You know you can't fully trust him. You know that you're on the block against him. What in the world are you doing? This is not just bad for Rachel. This is bad for Keanu. This vote is tenuous as it is, and you're giving Vince even more ammunition to use against you in that very vote. What in the world could you possibly... Oh, it's Keanu. Right. Need to remember who it is. Okay. Of course Keanu does this.
Of course he does.
He also asks Vince if he has a final two with Morgan, because everyone thinks he has a final two with Morgan. Vince, no, I don't have a final two with Morgan. I don't know why. We're just like friends. Like, I don't even have a final two with Morgan. He later talks to Lauren. We'll talk more about that conversation, but I thought this was very funny. Again, one of Vince's tells. He talks to Lauren, and he's like, yeah, people think I have a final two with Morgan. Like, Keanu was just asking me if I have a final two with Morgan. I told him very truthfully, I don't. And Lauren, you'll even see this after the show. I really don't. And it's like, oh, you really don't. Okay, that's interesting, because normally you just say,
I don't.
No. So Vince is then, once he finds out that Rachel said this, he runs that to Morgan and then later Mickey to warn them about how Keanu knows about the heavy hitters. Mickey is once again pissed at Keanu. Maybe he needs to go now because he knows too much, and he's spreading too much, and he's talking too much. And so this is a problem for Keanu, and it's also a big problem for Rachel, because all three of them, Vince, Mickey, and Morgan, agree that they all need to target Rachel next. She's doing way too much. Because now, again, Mickey's sort of ire is now turning back to Rachel and Keanu. Rachel is doing too much. Keanu is too close to her. Rachel needs to go.
Of course. I was also like angry about this too, but now just seeing how Mickey operates, it's starting to make sense. That's, it's her, she's next on the hit list. But yeah, Rachel is doing too much. Like, I don't think that she should have had that conversation, because she knows that Keanu is a bit of a big mouth, and like I don't know if that was the information to be telling him at that particular time. But I guess it's also shocking that Keanu would run back and tell somebody that would put his Big Brother game in danger. So I guess, like, I don't know. It's really just frustrating that, like, don't trust Keanu with anything. Don't believe him. Don't share anything with him. And you might be okay.
I just want a brief aside, because I think this is very funny. Brief history lesson. Back in Big Brother 13, Rachel came into the game with her showmance, Brendan. Danielle Donato came into the game with her father, Evil Dick. And then Jeff and Jordan, another showmance, came into the game. They were all vets. They came in as an alliance of vets. Evil Dick left the game early, leaving Danielle alone. But the the weird thing about that season is that that meant that Danielle was safe basically until jury, because they were playing in pairs. Danielle, over the course of the weeks leading into jury, became increasingly sort of disenfranchised, increasingly sort of upset with the notion of this big group. She fell in love with her future husband, and started to want to work with a lot of the outsiders, and so started to rat out the vets and go against the vets over time. And as they started to turn on her. And the funny kind of thing is here that this is kind of Rachel this season. Rachel is the Danielle this season, where she was in the heavy hitters, but has and was basically promised safety until jury because they wanted her in the jury, and Rachel is trying to rat them out, trying to go against them, and lead a revolution against this group, where they are now becoming increasingly sort of like, we're the heavy hitters, we're the vets of this season, you're not supposed to be turning on us, and it's all just it's very funny to me that Rachel has found herself in that position, because she, obviously was quite against Danielle that season in the spot that she was in.
It's really interesting, and I wonder if it's like there's some sort of familiarity for her in like obviously it wasn't her perspective, but to kind of create a similar dynamic that she's familiar with in Big Brother, because most of her games, she was always kind of like fighting against people or not necessarily getting along with people. And so like maybe she's just recreating a similar dynamic that she's familiar with because she feels like safer, or like she just understands that a little bit better.
Well, I think also like she's playing the game in the same way that Danielle did, this sort of reckless abandon. Now, Danielle did it because she had actual safety, but I think Rachel's doing it because she genuinely is playing for broke. She's saying, I want you to evict me before jury, or I want to destroy you. And so that's, I think, what we're getting. Now, I think this is also just generally how Rachel would play anyway. But I think that the extra incentive of being happy to be evicted before the jury is, I think, very telling in terms of the way that she's playing, going at Morgan the way that she did to put the target on her, talking about the heavy hitters, not caring about the consequences. She really is playing for all of the marbles or none of them. And odds are it will be none of them. But I think that it's helpful to sort of understand where she's coming from when she's making these moves.
But I understand not wanting to be in jury because she wants to be at home with her family, and like I totally get that. Just especially coming back as returning, but I kind of also want to see her fight to stay in this game and fight to get to the final two. Like that's what we're expecting from her, and so like. I don't know. I'm kind of sad and frustrated that like it's like if I don't win, I want to go home. Like, well, why'd you come back? Like, they're not going to make it easy for you to win, even if they're not the best players on the planet. They still want to win over you, and so I wish that I was seeing her fight more for her position in the game, as opposed to being like, okay, well, I'm fine with going home before jury because like then I can be with my family. I'm like, I don't know. I'm wondering if that's her just like realizing that it's going to be a harder game to win, and so maybe she'll just like lose honorably, as opposed to like try really hard and then still come up short.
I mean, quite frankly, it's the Tucker playbook. It really is. Everyone wants to play like Tucker. Turns out Rachel's the one playing most like Tucker. So Rachel does have a conversation with Zach. It's a follow-up to the conversation they had the night before, which was a follow-up to the conversation they had during the punishment. And basically Rachel says, I really want to work with you, Zach. I don't really have anybody in this house. And I really would like to work with you. You seem like a nice guy. And if I don't have anybody and I could just choose somebody to work with, I'd like to work with nice people. And he agrees. He said, this would be great. She says, I feel like it's wild to me. The people in this house, they like don't seem to understand that I'm a vet. I've won this game before. I know what I'm doing, and nobody seems to want to listen to my advice. And he's like, I would love to take your advice. And so they agree to work with each other. Of course, later in the night, Zach also learns that she ratted out the heavy hitters. So how well this will go for her is going to be another question.
Well, that's going to be if Zach stays, right? So
Right.
it doesn't really matter because, well, we don't really know 100% what's going to happen on Thursday, but likely he's going home, and so it won't really matter anyways. So.
Mm-hmm. So Vince does have that conversation with Lauren that I mentioned earlier, where he talks about like, I definitely don't have a final two with Morgan. And Lauren actually in this conversation, not only, again, I feel like people keep thinking like, well, who might Lauren choose? I'm reasonably certain, as much as I can be in this house, that Lauren has always been on on Vince's side here. She will always vote to keep Vince over Zach. She does bring up that she's worried that the optics of it might be bad. That basically, like, if she votes to keep Vince over Zach, that people will realize how close they are. But I don't think that's a significant roadblock in the way of this decision. So if you needed further confirmation, she has still not told Zach she will keep him over Vince. She is fully telling Vince she will keep him over Zach every time. She's avoiding telling anybody else what she plans to do, saying, yeah, I'm just not sure yet what I will do. So that's where she stands on that. But importantly, she actually says to Vince, last night, I overheard Rachel and Mickey talking. I don't think they realized that I was in there, but basically I heard them talking. This was the conversation where Rachel was talking to Mickey, and Rachel actually stopped the conversation short for fear that it might be overheard. But they were talking about the argument with Morgan, and they were talking about Morgan, and Lauren didn't hear everything, but she did hear, she thinks, them talking kind of some smack about Morgan, which is only going to further throw fuel in the fire of Morgan versus Mickey if this gets out. Now, Vince promised not to tell anyone. I don't think Lauren will be telling anyone, but just kind of some interesting stuff there. Very smart decision by Rachel to stop the conversation before they started talking about the vote, because that could have been even worse theoretically, in the sense that it actually would have vouched for Mickey at that time, because Mickey was going to start arguing to keep Vinny. And if Lauren had been able to give Vinny that information, it would have made him trust Mickey more, I think, than he currently does. But it was funny. It was funny. These people need to be careful. Be careful.
Definitely be careful. Everybody's listening. Everybody's around. So yeah, be careful.
Rylie also had, maybe a funny moment, depending on how you sort of look at it. He was talking to Vinny out in the backyard at night, talking about how can't believe I got away with what I did after the HOH was stolen from me. Can you believe it? I thought I was about to be kicked out of the house. And I was yelling at them so much. And then Mickey comes to me afterward like, everything's fine. Can you I got away with it so easy. And it's just like, yeah. He's not wrong.
I'm still shocked that he got away with it. Like, if anybody had spoken to me like that, I'd be like, oh, sorry. Like, okay, I guess you're going to have to go home now because we're not getting along here, instead of like wanting to work with him. So yeah, he did get away with it. I don't know how. He has some sort of spell on those house guests, and he gets away with a lot of things that I couldn't imagine him getting away with.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I have a feeling we're gonna like this moment might be symbolic of the almost entire season. Rylie just being like, I don't know how, but I keep getting away with it.
Is he winning this season? Oh my god! I just had a flash.
We'll see.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's what we deserve, right? Wow.
All right. That's basically the day for me. Anything that you wanted to bring up, Chantele?
No, we kind of got through most of my frustrations with with this cast and this day of feeds. I was expecting, as I mentioned, to be looking at Morgan like spiraling on the block. Like I really thought that was going to happen, and we didn't get that. So yeah, I'm good. I don't think there's anything else left to chat about.
All right. Well, just to quickly recap, of course, Zach did not use his power, meaning Zach, Vince, Keanu staying on the block. Zach, as of right now, will be voted out if he does not win the blockbuster. Between Vince and Keanu, it is still back and forth, may largely come down to what Mickey decides. Mickey currently plans to evict Vince, but that may change, especially with this heavy hitters information, because Rachel outed the heavy hitters to Keanu and Kelley. Keanu then ratted that out to Vince, who brought that back to Mickey. And so we are currently in the midst of this sort of campaign and war for Mickey's attention, I guess. So we will see what happens there. But ultimately, over the coming days, today and tomorrow, we will see where the vote falls. And that's about what we have for you today. So stay tuned. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. Tonight, the slop for patrons. If you are interested in all of the sloppy extracurriculars for Big Brother, you can head over to that podcast. In the meantime, check out my book. You heard a couple passages from the strategy chapter, one of the strategy chapters. And you can pre-order it over at taranarmstrong.com. You can also find me over on YouTube and Twitch, streaming during episodes and while feeds are popping and playing some other fun games and stuff like that. Chantele, where can people find you?
I've been talking about this new season of The Challenge over on my YouTube channel, Reality Realness with 3 S's. The season's pretty good so far. So yeah, come and hang out with us as we recap that. Or you can find me on Instagram at ShanFranFran.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.